the MLB trade deadline. Now, unlike last year, this year's MLB trade deadline was nothing insane. Of course, last year Juan Soto got dealt, among others. This year, there were really only two huge names that got dealt. One that did not get dealt in Shohei Ohtani, which I talked about on Tuesday's show. You can go back and hear my thoughts on why I think that potentially could have been a mistake, excuse me, by the Los Angeles Angels. But a team in the National League East known as the New York Mets, who everybody thought was going to be the best team potentially in baseball history this year. Of course, they spent all that money, all that payroll to essentially get a super team. They got Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. Now they have bottomed out. They traded both of them away to the AL West. Of course, Max Scherzer going to the Texas Rangers, along with Justin Verlander going back to the Houston Astros. And it just goes to show that once again, payroll is the most overused metric in sports and specifically in baseball. Baseball is not about the talent you have. It's not about having, five great starters that make all this money and nine power hitters that every pitch can knock the ball out of the park. You need very good pitching. It does not have to be based off, how great they are or how well they are paid. You just need great pitching. You need a great bullpen with a good mix of righties, lefties, and delivery types, whether that be sidearms or different arm angles or what have you. You need a combination of good speed on the bases, good inning, good contact inning, good power inning. And baseball, a player is only as good as the next player in the lineup. As I've been saying with Ohtani a lot, Ohtani may be statistically the best player in baseball, but there really is not a best player in baseball because Ohtani could go 5 for 5 with 5 home runs and still lose the game. He could throw a complete game, no hitter, perfect game, shutout, but if the Angels don't score, he's not going to win the game. So baseball is not dependent on one star. It's really dependent on your entire 26, man roster. This year, there's been a lot of surprises. Tampa Bay, obviously, getting off to that odd start, but Baltimore, who's been on their tail throughout the entire season, has finally caught them, and now they lead the AL East. Bo Bichette, who was, of course, the American League leader in batting average, went down for Toronto, who was starting to get back in the wild card mix. That may affect them, though they just got Paul DeJong for the St. Louis Cardinals as a stopgap. Obviously, we know Boston's above 500. The Yankees are above 500, but they don't feel in the same class as your Rays, your Baltimore, and even Toronto. AL Central, we know, is a disaster. And then in the AL West, well, Seattle's been a disappointment. The Angels are fighting for a wild card spot. Obviously, Texas now, a lot like Baltimore, with all that youth talent, finally getting in there and performing. Texas and Baltimore are going to be good for years to come. And of course, the Houston Astros, who are trying to make, what would it be, their 8th straight ALCS, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. That would be their 7th straight ALCS, and potentially out of 7 of those, 5 World Series appearances, as that dynasty doesn't seem to be going anywhere as they bring back Verlander. The AL seems to be a lot more competitive than the NL. Of course, the NL champion runner-ups, from last year, the Philadelphia Phillies, are starting to get odd. Don't think they're going to catch the Braves in the NL East, but that wild card position, with Philly, Arizona, Milwaukee, or Cincinnati, whoever doesn't win the Central or whoever doesn't win the NL West, with the Giants and D-backs basically fighting for second and third, with the Dodgers starting to pull away. That's what you're looking at here. And in baseball this year, I already mentioned the Rays, Baltimore, Texas, Houston. Those feel like the 4 teams in the American League that, in my opinion, can win the World Series. Whoever wins the crapshoot of the AL Central will probably be eliminated in the wild card round. Though, as we know in baseball, it really doesn't matter, because once you get odd, it doesn't matter if you have the best regular season record. if you're odd at this point in time, you can potentially go on to win the World Series. We saw it in 2019 with the Nationals, and we saw it in 2021 with the Atlanta Braves. Guardians sold a little bit of the deadline, giving up Ahmed Rosario, who went to the Dodgers, Aaron Savali going to Tampa, and then Josh Bell going to Miami. But Minnesota still stinks too. It's a two-team race down there in the AL Central. National League, it sort of feels like a Braves slash Dodgers in it to lose. Again, could the D-backs get hot? Sure, they have a lot of young talent. The Giants seem to always be right there. D-Lock Cruz and the Cincinnati Reds are still in first place in the NL Central, but it does really feel like the Braves, who have great pitching, great bullpen, great power hitting, and we all know what the Dodgers do every year. Those are the two teams to me that have sort of separated in the National League. We know San Diego has been a disappointment for years, a lot like the Mets. But the two biggest additions, again, are Scherzer to Texas, Verlander to Houston, really making that AL West really competitive. Former teammates in Detroit, now former teammates in New York, are now potentially going to go head-to-head, not only in a division showdown, but in a playoff series, because it's very formidable. Houston and Texas could go through each other to get to the World Series, which would be something interesting. But baseball's going to want a talent right now. There's not an overwhelming dominant team. The two best players in the sport, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, are on the same team, and they may not even make the postseason. So, again, I know Trout is out right now, but it just goes to show you can have the best talent in the world in baseball, but it's a collection of talent. And again, good hitting, timely hitting, good pitching, timely pitching, good bullpen, being able to manufacture runs, being able to bunt for hits, being able to hit home runs, being able to strike people out when you're down in the count, being able to get outs when you're up in the count. All that above is what makes a great baseball team. And as always, it's a race to the finish. I think Tampa, the addition of Aaron Savali, helped them out in the starting rotation, but I think a lot of this outside of Houston and Texas were more minor moves than major moves, as sort of the good teams know who they are, the bad teams know who they are. The bad teams have kind of bottomed out early this year. The good teams have risen to the crop, and I think we have about 6 or 7 potential World Series candidates this year. If the Yankees get out with Aaron Judge, you could throw them in there as well, even though right now they're last in the AL East, but that doesn't necessarily mean they will miss the postseason. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.